What's up, everyone? It's Bones here. I'd like to begin this video by giving a huge shout out to TCG Player for the opportunity to be a part of their affiliate program. If you want to help a content creator out, all you have to do is click on the TCG Player link down below, and it won't cost you anything either. The first combo features Iron Reaver Stone Sweeper, and the cool thing about the Earthbound cards is that they allow you to get access into a level 6 synchro, and the Ghoti deck really needs to get into its level 6 synchro, as we're going to use the Groundskeeper in order to bring out the Stone Sweeper. You can either revive it from the graveyard or bring it out from deck, but we're then going to be able to go into the level 6 Ghoti, use its effect in order to banish ourselves the Shift or the Paces, it doesn't matter which one, but we're then going to go onto our opponent's turn, we'll use the effect of Paces, and from here we can then go onto the main phase 1. Once our opponent does anything that you want to respond to, you can use the effect of the Paces, go into the Askin, use the effect of the level 6 along with the Askin, and now we can banish our opponent's card, whichever one you want to banish, grab ourselves the Lifeless Leaffish for some follow-up, and because we have the Askin's effect in order to banish the Paces, we'll get even more follow-up that way. Now, for the second one, it really isn't much of a combo, and it's very similar to the last one, but I just want to show what happens if you do get your Groundskeeper negated, and if you have a Runick Quick Play to go along with it. So we're going to Ash the Groundskeeper, and now we can activate the Runick Tip, which will give us the Frecky, and the Frecky is a level 5 Runick that you can play if you want to be able to play through hand trap so that you can go into your level 6, and as you saw previously, once you banish a tuner that you can bring back, you have access into the same thing that I showed in the first combo. Now, for this third combo, this will be the first iteration of 3, and this takes any Runick Quick Play along with Paces, and we're going to start this one by special summoning out the Jerry, as we're then going to normal summon the Paces, go into the Aryan, as we'll then be able to use its effect, we'll banish the Shift, and then we're going to go on to our opponent's turn, where we can then special summon back out the Shift. We'll then be able to synchro summon with the Shift the minute that you want to, or the minute that your opponent does anything that requires you to answer that, and we're going to use the effect of the Aryan along with the Askin, as we'll be able to banish ourselves the Paces off of the Askin once we revive that, and we're going to banish the level 6 off of its own effect for the Lifeless Leaffish, but the cool thing here is that the Shift will be in the graveyard, so you can banish it during your next turn, giving you follow-up for your opponent's next turn after this, while having the Paces and the Lifeless Leaffish on board, so that if your Lifeless Leaffish were to get hit by something like Imperm, you could synchro it away with the Paces anyways. Now this next combo features Runick Tip along with the Zep, and we're going to start this one by again special summoning out the Jerry off of the Runick Tip, and then we're going to normal summon the Zep. We'll then be able to go into our level 6, use its effect in order to banish the Paces, go on to our opponent's turn. From here we'll then be able to use the effect of the Paces on the standby phase, and the minute that our opponent does something, you can then use the effect of the Paces, use the effect of the Askin along with the level 6 synchro, as we'll then be able to banish our opponent's card, and then use the effect of the level 6 synchro. In this scenario, we're going to add ourselves the level 6 kind of hand trap, Nopios, and we're then going to be able to use the effect of the Askin, as we'll then be able to use the effect of the Zep, which will give us access into the Ghoti Beyond the Deep, and with access to Ghoti Beyond the Deep, we now have access into 2 more interruptions that we get via the Ghoti of the Deep Beyond, along with the Snopios, that you can use after resolving the Deep Beyond. Now, for the final one of these, this is just Runick Tip plus Shift, and we're going to use the effect of the Runick Tip in order to get ourselves Jerry again, as we're going to normal summon the Shift. We can then go into our level 6 much like previously, but because we have the Shift this time around, we can actually banish it on our own turn, giving us 2 level 2 tuners that we can use during our opponent's turn. So we're going to go to the standby phase of our opponent's turn, where we're going to revive the Shift and the Paces, and now we have access into the Askin via the Shift. Our opponent does anything, we just have that interruption, which is really nice, but we'll use the effect of the level 6 synchro along with the Askin, as we'll banish the Runick Tip along with the Snopios for its own effect in order to get the Snopios from deck. But then from here, we're going to use the effect of Askin, banishing the Shift, giving us that follow-up, and now we can use the effect of Paces for that Deep Beyond. We also have the Snopios for that extra disruption. Do keep in mind, though, you don't want to use them in the same chain link, because what'll end up happening is that you'll just banish your Snopios off of the Deep Beyond. Now, for this next combo, we have 2 Runick Quick Plays along with the Paces, and I'm pretty sure this can be any of your level 2 tuners as well. We're going to then be able to special summon out the Hugin, as we're then going to be able to go into the Cupid Pitch, use the effect of the Cupid Pitch, as we'll then be able to use the effect of the Runick Freezing Curse. We made it level 2 so that we can go into our level 6, as we're then going to be able to use the Cupid Pitch along with the Ghoti level 6, banishing our Shift and getting our Hopier Squadron, as we'll then be able to go onto our opponent's turn, special summon summon out the shift during our opponent's standby phase, as this will give us access into the Ask the moment that our opponent does anything, as we're going to special summon out the Hopier, go into our Ask and use the effect of the Ghoti level 6 along with the Ask and banish our opponent's card, as we'll then be able to get ourselves the search for the Snopios. We can then use the effect of the Askin, and because we have that extra tuner via the shift, because we had the Hopier to synchro away in the first place, we can now go into the Deep Beyond and give ourselves the opportunity to disrupt our opponent 2 more times with the Deep Beyond along with the Snopios. We also get the extra names in Graveyard, which is pretty nice because the shift becomes follow-up when you banish it for the Snopios. Now, I know that I haven't featured any of the Phantom Nightmare cards throughout this video yet, and it's because I wanted to go through the entire deck for people still learning it before I got onto the new cards. And now I'm going to start with the first of 3 combos featuring the new cards from Phantom Nightmare, as we're going to normal summon out our Stone Sweeper, or normal summon out our Groundskeeper to special summon out the Stone Sweeper, go into our level 6. We can then banish our first new card, the 6 or Sykes, however you pronounce this, the Moonlight, and it's a level 6 fish that reads, if this card is normal or special summoned, you can add 1 fish monster from your deck to your hand except Moonlight. Then banish 1 fish monster from your hand or face up field. If this card is banished, you can banish 1 fish monster from your hand, face up field, or graveyard except Moonlight. Special summon this card. You can only use each effect of Moonlight once per turn. And if you watch my previous Ghoti video, which I'll link down below, it's a pure version if you are more interested in that. This card is really useful for the deck as you're just able to get yourself more follow-up by banishing your Ghotis. You're also able to get yourself the ability to have an extra level 6 on board, which gives you access into 2 level 8s. As you'll see, we're going to go on to our opponent's turn where we're going to bring back the Shift along with the Pasties, and then we can, at any point during our opponent's turn when you want to respond to them, use the effect of Pasties, go into our Askin, use the effect of the Snopios or the level 6 along with the Askin, but in this case, you'll see how the Askin is actually going to banish the level 6. And the cool thing about that is that you're able to trigger your level 6 so that you can get yourself the banish along with the special summon, and you'll see that we have even more extension capabilities like this as we get ourselves these up on board. We can then get ourselves the next new card, Kif, and this is a level 2 fish that reads, if a fish monster is on the field, you can special summon this card from your hand. If a monster is special summoned to your opponent's field, you can target one of them and one of your banished level 6 or lower fish monsters. Banish both that opponent's target and this card, and if you do, special summon the targeted monster. During the standby phase of the next turn after this card was banished, you can special summon this banished card. You can only use each effect of Kif once per turn, and the unique thing about this one is that it's a level 2 that is a disruption, but it's also a non-tuner, and you have to keep that in mind for when making your combos. But the really cool thing about it is how it helps your grind game, as you're able to special summon your banished stuff and just make really cool plays with it, as I'll show momentarily. But we're going to use the effects of Shift and the Zep to get us access into another Askin. We can then go into the Deep Beyond. We can then use the effect of Deep Beyond, as we'll then be able to use the effect of Askin, banish the Shift. From here, we can then go on to our turn, as we're then going to get ourselves a draw. I'm not going to use that card, but I'm going to bring back the Ghoti of the Deep Beyond, use the effect of Kif. You'll see that we have all the names in the banish zone as well, so just a lot of follow-up capabilities that we have here, whether you want to go into something like the Fish Lamp or whatever you may play. And I would like to point out that in the deck profile, I'm actually not playing that. I'll explain later on. You still do have access to something like a level 10 synchro via this. You have your Runick quick plays, which can get you into another level 6, and just so many things that you can do from here, which is a really cool thing about Ghoti. Now, for this next combo, we have the Kif along with a Runick quick play and the Groundskeeper, as we're going to use the effect of the Runick tip in order to get ourselves the Jerry, normal summon out the Stone Sweeper, or special summon out the Stone Sweeper off of the Groundskeeper, then go into our level 6, use the effect of the level 6. Do keep in mind that we are keeping the Gary here because we want its level, as we're then going to banish the Kif and the Pasties that we get off of the Moonlight. But from here, we can then go on to our opponent's turn, where we'll get back the Kif along with the Pasties. And the really cool thing about this is how you're going to see the Kif resolve, as we're going to use the effect of the Pasties first, use the effect of Askin along with level 6, as we're going to banish Moonlight along with the level 6 synchro. And then we can get ourselves these up, use the effect of the Moonlight, special summon itself back, get ourselves these up, as we'll then be able to get ourselves access into another synchro this way. Also be able to banish the Shift that we add, giving us more follow-up. But now we're going to synchro away into another level 6, as we'll be able to banish the Snopios. We can then get the Snopios back by banishing this up. From here, when our opponent special summons something, we now have have access into the Kith's effect, which means that we can banish our opponent's monster and bring back the shift that we banished earlier this turn and give us access into yet another synchro and disruption via the Deep Beyond. We also have the Snopios for another disruption beyond that. Now, for the final combo, we have Lifeless Leaffish plus Runick Tip, and kind of an anticlimactic way to end this one, as it's not one of the craziest combos out there, but we're going to then use the effect of Shift in order to get ourselves the follow-up with it. So we're then going to special summon out the Jerry along with the Runick Tip. As we're then going to go onto our opponent's turn, we can then use the effect of Shift. And now we can synchro away into the level 6 using our Jerry, and the reason why it's important to use the Jerry here is so that you can banish the Moonlight. Use the effect of Moonlight in order to banish the Shift. Here you can use the effect of Moonlight, finish yourself the Zep after you add it, and special summon back the Zep, and at this point you can use the effect of Zep, go into the Askin, use the effect of the level 6 synchro along with the Askin, which means that we'll get the banish, add for the Kith, as then we can then use the effect of the Askin banishing the Zep, and we can go on to our opponent's turn. But the cool thing with the Lifeless Leaffish here is it gives you flexibility of what you can banish with the Moonlight, because by any chance if your Shift is to get banished from the graveyard, having that body on board for the Moonlight is pretty helpful. With all of the combos out of the way, we can get onto the deck profile, and the first thing that I would like to do is go over Fish Lamp. It's a level 4 synchro that we'll be getting in Phantom Nightmare. It reads that it takes 1 tuner plus 1 non-tuner monsters. If this card is sent to the graveyard as a synchro material, you can special summon 2 lamp tokens, Fish, Fire, level 2, attack 0, defense 0. Also, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of this turn, except Fish monsters. If you control a Fish synchro monster, you can banish this card from your graveyard, then target 1 card on the field, destroy it. You can only use each effect of Fish Lamp once per turn, and on the surface this is a really good card. What I found in this deck is that you kind of do want space for the Runick cards, as the Frecky does help when you're playing the Earthbound engine, but then you also have things like the Aryan going into the Askin and the Beyond the Deep being the main plays that you're really going for in this deck, and even on follow-up turns you can just make this stuff to go into the second Askin, Beyond the Deep, etc. But the point is that if you're playing Fish Lamp, it's likely that you're playing a lot of other extra deck options too, which is why I couldn't fit it into the Runick version of the deck. It is in the pure version though, which does have that flexibility. Another card that I had to leave out that I didn't want to leave out was Chengying. Same thing with Typhon. These were also tough cuts, and it's just because I wanted to fit the Frecky in for the Earthbound package. I know that these are lesser options, the Earthbound package, especially since I was just talking about extra deck space, but this is something that maybe one day could come up, and I know that it's far-fetched, but just still worth bringing up. Then we have the Googlim. The Googlim I know is not a great level 8 synchro by any means, but I think that there is a logical reasoning to play it over the Dragite, and it's because it's a fish monster that you could synchro into during your opponent's turn, even if it isn't the greatest. And then finally, I would like to go over Crossout and Droll, and I think that these two are just mandatory for the side deck. Crossout especially because you can banish your Ghotis. And now I would like to talk about some of the main deck ratios, and I know that this looks really weird where you have all these Ghoti stuff at 1 or 2, primarily at 1 just besides the Zep. The way that you should think about it is that these are kind of like your combo engine pieces that you're either searching out or banishing, while your Stone Sweeper and your Groundskeeper are basically Armageddon Knight, Send Malicious, and Make Isolde and combo from there. Just the fact that you can get into your level 6 via the Earthbound package that can get you into one of your tuners so that you can continue to play on your opponent's turn and then be backed up by the Runick spells is really powerful, and what made people gravitate towards this version of the deck in my opinion. That said, there are some pros and cons to both versions, of course. The pure version has the ability to play Shifter, and that card can win games on its own, but the consistency provided from the Earthbound version I don't think is meant to be underestimated either. Now that said, I'll get onto the card by card, and we have the 3 copies of Tip, the 3 copies of Freezing Curse, the 3 copies of Destruction, the 3 copies of Flashing Fire, the 1 copy of Magma Storm, the 1 copy of the Lifeless Leaffish, which we only play at 1 because we can search this. We have a normal summon that we prefer to get to instead, which is the Groundskeeper, which actually gets you into the level 6 during your own turn. And then we have the Hopier Squadron, which is searched off of the Cupid Pitch. We then have the 1 copy of Snopios, the 1 copy of Six, or whatever it's called, the 1 copy of Kith. All of these are combo pieces. Same thing with the Paces, the Shift, the 2 copies of Zep, the 3 copies of Stone Sweeper, the 3 copies copies of Groundskeeper, we then have the 2 copies of Fountain, the 1 copy of Dispelling, the 3 copies of Slumber to round out a very basic Runick engine, and then we have the 3 copies of Bell and the 3 copies of Ash, because when you're playing the Runick stuff, you kind of do want hand traps, and Bell and the Ash are the 2 most universal ones that we can play right now that still are important for this coming format. Then onto the extra deck, we have the 2 copies of Hugin, 2 copies of Jerry, the 1 copy of Frecky, and the 1 copy of Sleipnir. Outside of the Sleipnir, everything here is meant for synchro summoning, even though the Hugin will be getting your copies of Fountain, along with the Jerry being able to get them back from the graveyard. But that said, you're mostly using them for synchros in this deck. Then we have the Cupid Pitch, we then have the 2 copies of the Aryan, we then have the 1 copy of the Dragite, which if you want to play the Guoglim for the fish synchro reasons on your opponent's turn, I get it. Then we have the 2 copies of Askin, the 2 copies of Ghoti of the Deep Beyond, and the 1 copy of SP Little Knight to round out the deck profile. So for everyone who's made it this far, I'd like to thank you so much for watching and for the 700 plus subs. I truly appreciate your support and how you guys have been really killing it recently. And we've monetized the channel, giving us access to supers and memberships, which means that more awesome stuff is on the horizon. To get the channel membership, just click on the description below and there will be a link that takes you there. You'll also notice a free Discord link that I've made for us too. If you want to support me as a content creator, even if you can't donate supers or get a membership for the channel, clicking on those thumbs up and subscribe buttons help a lot too. For those wondering, I do plan on making updates to the channel as the support on the channel grows. Anyways, I hope to see you on the next one. It's Bones, signing out.